Good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. It's Friday, 21st June 2024, and I am Adanna Combie. We begin conversations this morning in studio. We speak with Mr. Darren Henry, Assistant Conservator in the Division Forest, in the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development. And this morning we're speaking about, just giving you some guidelines in terms of we are in the rainy season and things might get a little bit windy and heavy rainfalls. And so we're going to speak a little bit as to how to secure your premises, especially those that have trees and the likes. Good morning and welcome.
Morning, Han. How are you? And morning to Tobago. As you said, my name is Darren Henry. I'm the Assistant Conservator of Forests in the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry in the Tobago House of Assembly.
Right, and so we're talking about bringing awareness in terms of, because we're in the rainy season. We haven't had much rain thus far, but we do expect to have, speaking with our team and other agencies, we do expect to have a lot of rainfall in this season. Also possibly hurricanes as well, or storms coming our way. And so we want to protect our homes, we want to protect our spaces, especially those who have tall trees and these type of things in their residence, in their premises. So how do we safeguard ourselves? How do we treat with these trees to preserve life, our life, and possibly the lives of the tree, if at all they can be saved?
Yeah, we are presently in the hurricane season. Hurricane season runs basically from the 1st of June to the last day in November every year. And we have noticed that there's an increase in tree issues, tree conflicts with utilities, tree conflicts with neighbors, etc. So we thought it wise to come and educate the populace on some of the tree issues that we are having and how we could go about curbing them. We know that some people may have trees around their homes. We are asking you to monitor your trees. You could prune your trees to allow air to flow through your trees, because if the trees form a barrier, they can easily top over. You need to ensure that the tree don't overgrow and then create a problem. So we notice that a lot of persons are leaving trees to grow, and when it becomes problematic above the house, then they call us for assistance. Sometimes you go and sometimes the solutions are so challenging to deal with to safeguard property and life. So we need to monitor, we need to be better aware. If you know the tree is growing close to your house, remove it early. Don't let it grow up above the house and then come to us. Or the other thing is, you're going to build a house, cut the tree or get advice on the tree and then build the house. Some people build the house and then come for advice. And some of those just be really, really challenging at times. So once a tree, you could prune your tree and allow wind to flow through, so that wouldn't topple over. But if you don't prune it, then there's a chance it could topple over. And going around in Tobago, we have seen a number of challenges. Sometimes there are abandoned properties next to people's home. You can't find the owner. We just can't go in and cut those trees, etc. So we're calling on the entire community to come together. And if you see a problem happen early, try and treat with it early rather than at the latter stage, which may cause you to do over your property or cause some damage to your life, or damage you basically.
Now I'm going to ask you a very challenging question. It's about policy. And I know that sometimes people can be stubborn.
Yeah.
For instance, if I have a tree growing in my yard and it has some sentimental value to me or some historical value, and I refuse to prune, I refuse to, even take one leaf off of that tree because it has some measure of value to me. And so it poses a threat to myself, to my neighbors, to those around, especially when the high winds come, as you say, sometimes they form a barrier. Is there any policy or any regulation or anything that can govern enforcing that this person will have to now trim this tree?
So where I sit from, basically our authority is on state lands. But what we do, we try to use moral suasion to persons, because we are having a number of tree issues with neighbor challenges on the island that has grown exponential. Not too sure. With Tobago, normally a neighbor used to be a neighbor's keeper. You look out for your neighbor house, etc. But things have changed, and we are experiencing a number of challenges regarding that particular issue. So one of the challenges that we tend to use moral suasion. If that don't work, we tend to advise persons to go to whether it's the JP, etc., or seek legal redress and those kind of things, because our jurisdiction is really on state property. Once the tree is on state property, then we can determine what to be done with the particular tree. But most of the issues we tend to treat with our trees on state property. We try our best to, once it creating any kind of problem or nuisance to any member of the public. But the challenge we're having is on trees on private land regarding those type of simple domestic issues, leaves falling in people's yard, fruits chopping, and the person don't want to cut the tree, and it's hamburger. And then there's also the issue of public health could step into, because if it's a public issue with rotten fruits, leaves in guttering, etc. So sometimes we work along with the agencies, TEMA, TNTEC, to try to come to some amicable solution for some of the problem. But those challenges are seriously increasing, and it's something that the whole executive or we could look at together and see how best we could come to solve some of those challenges on the island. They're really increasing on the island.
And so if I have a challenge, or someone I know has a challenge with a tree in my yard, and I'm not certain, it is pruned, it is, well groomed, but I am not certain if I need to do more pruning, can I come, do you provide that kind of assessment to advise residents as to how to...
So over the past 10 years or so, we have been trying to build out a private sector in terms of that type of thing, because sometimes based on dealing with trees on state land is overwhelming for us. And sometimes we try to build out a private sector because we have sawmillers who are licensed, and we tend to have a list and we will give to members of the public. We try to facilitate as much as possible people who might be physically challenged, or people who, once we have some downtime, people who are the elderly basically, or maybe a church or those kind of institutions, we may tend to facilitate. But we can't do all, we can't do everything. So we trying to build out a private sector who will treat to some of the issues on private lands while we focus on state land, because states, we have a lot of things to do on state property, so we can't do everything, but we try. And yes, we could go, and we normally go and give people advice on trees, basically from the forestry department. We do that, members of the public, and give them necessary recommendation for them to take the necessary actions, whether it's through TEMA or even through the private sector.
And, sometimes our trees, you mentioned, I think earlier, trees might be hamburging electrical wires and stuff like that. I don't think that you are encouraging anybody to try to prune those trees themselves.
So trees that are close, even we ourselves, trees that are close to electric wires, LV lines or HC lines, we call TNTEC, because of the moisture content in trees. The electricity can move from the line into the trees, whether it's like between 8 to 10 feet. So we don't skylark with TNTEC lines at all, and they are the ones to deal with that issue. We don't skylark with that, because current could move from the line into the tree and give you a shock, basically.
That's right. So while you are trying to adhere to the advice and the guidelines coming from the division, do not try to be a superhero. If you need assistance, of course, there are agencies you can reach out to assist you to ensure that you do it the correct way. Remember, the key thing here is to preserve life and then property. Life is more important in this scenario, and in any scenario rather. And so we want to ensure that you do the correct thing. What are some of the key things that you really want people to take away? Because sometimes we take things for granted. We say that God is a Trini and the hurricane might just blow over, nothing might happen. But you must still be prepared in the event something happens.
I'm not professing to be a hurricane expert or anything, but through TEMA, we always have to be ready, prepare property for any such event. But prepare property for any such event, your windows, etc. You stock up with your food, etc. But the thing is, we really want to encourage people to treat with the trees around your property at this present time. We still have time, even though we're in the hurricane season. Another issue that we noticed that trending too is that, and I use the word trending, people think that you could just go on state land and cut down a tree or a vegetation to put up some kind of business or put up a house, and that is increasing on the island too. So we're monitoring that too. And all trees that are on state property, once you cut in trees, there's a warning. On state property without our permission, there's a fine of $20,000 for that. So even people, we're realizing that is increasing. You will give people housing may give people lands, and even though you have lease lands, even though the Department of Land Management may issue you a piece of land for agricultural purposes, all the merchantable timber belongs to the state, which is still under the jurisdiction of forestry. So in an event like that, you have your lease land, you want to do some pens, you have to write to us, etc., and then we'll come in and sell you the tree based on the formula that is being used in Trinidad and Tobago. So it's not because land manager will give you the land, the trees belong to you they'll lease you the land, the trees belong to you, basically.
You know, I wish we had more time to talk about this part of it as well, because the public education is very important. As I mentioned, sometimes we take things for granted, and as you said, you lease the land and you think, well, the land is mine, so the tree is also mine. And so, of course, we would love to continue a conversation of this nature to ensure we get the education where this is concerned. But primarily in this season where we're heading into the rainy season and possibly hurricane season, remember, please, to safeguard your property. If you need assistance, there are agencies that you can reach out to. You can start as simple as the division of forestry. They will be able to assist you, they will even give you numbers to contact if the capacity is too much for them, as you mentioned earlier. There are agencies who are working together. Remember, the primary modus operandi here is to preserve lives. So let us adhere to the advice and the guidelines that are being given to us this morning as we prepare to enter into, as we're already in the rainy season, as the rains might become heavier, strong winds, and possibly hurricanes as well. In closing,
well, I just want to mention a couple of other things. Also, we noticed that there's an increase in littering on the island. There's issues that we have to deal with, and it's not any outsiders that are doing it. It's we Tobagoans, we are doing it. We also have over the past week or two, we have seen an increase in road kills in the opossum along our roads. I've counted about 6 dead on the road. People are just mashing them. Some are accidental, but we having a very high number of road kills for both domestic animals like dogs and wildlife. Iguanas, people mashing iguanas. But recently, in the last week and a half, a lot of opossum or manacle. You notice that along the road. So folks, if you could avoid them as best as possible. Manacles, they do some environmental sanitation work for us also. That's right. That is whole part of the system. They eat the carrion of other dead animals. They help to sanitize the environment. Everybody, or each animal and or human being, we have our role and function to play to keep the environment in equilibrium for us to function properly. And one more thing before I close, we also noticed that we're not trying to handbug or impede any persons from doing businesses, but you have to, if you start something wrong, you cannot end up right. We noticed that there's a proliferation of ATVs, etc. But the challenge we have is that they're riding it on beaches that basically have persons there, and also now is the turtle nesting season, and we don't want to allow that they're riding ATVs, especially in the Boca area, along the beach, disrupting sea bathers, and that is a nesting beach for green and hawksbill turtles. So we are proposing that probably during the nesting season, from whether it's March to August, main nesting season, that there'll be no riding on the beach. So probably we had to really meet with all the stakeholders and come up with a suggestion for you. Not trying to cut out any business or anything, but you have to do it properly in terms of sustainability of the whole environment and ecosystem.
That's right. That's right. At the end of the day, we want to preserve our natural resources and, as you said, our ecosystems as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Mr. Darren Henry, Assistant Conservator in the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development, as we speak about preparing for the hurricane season, as well as information in terms of how we preserve our natural resources. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations this morning. And when we come back with Mr. Cricket, our sports host this morning, as he takes you through all the things happening, sports related, not just in Tobago, but things that are being celebrated all over the world. Yes, because he's our sports enthusiast. I am taking my leave this morning, but before I go, of course, I want to tell you, enjoy your weekend. Whatever you're doing, be safe, enjoy, create memories with your loved ones, your friends, and those who are around you. We're going to go for a short break right now, and as we go for a break, we invite you to help us share the life, share the life, share the life.